If you believe in the Kings, if you're an Artemi Panarin fan, maybe an avenue to look down because comparatively speaking, pretty affordable for a guy of that caliber who does still have some racetrack left. Hey everybody, welcome into another edition of Nonsense on Ice presented by Upper Deck, where we talk hockey and we talk the hobby. Doug Plagens here with you as always, and a lot to get to here on this edition of Nonsense on Ice. We have some big NHL news to get to from the week that was. Obviously, the National Hockey League schedule has hit the Olympic break. So we're going to talk about some of the award frontrunners. Who do we see as the frontrunners for the Hart Trophy, the Vezina Trophy, the Calder Trophy? We're going to get to a lot of that, talk about how it impacts the card markets of the players involved. We're going to have some Olympic discussion as well, because as we record this, we're recording it on Super Bowl Sunday, folks. Things are starting to get rolling over in Milan as far as the men's ice hockey tournament is concerned. Now, they won't play until the 11th. So that is the first game, folks. The first game in the tournament will be the 11th at 10:40 a.m., Finland and Slovakia. That'll get things going. On the 12th, Canada and the U.S. will play their first games. Canada opens against the Czech Republic. The U.S. opens against Latvia at 3:10 Eastern on the 12th. So that's what lies ahead as far as the schedule goes for those two teams. But we're starting to get some ideas of some of the line combos, things like that are trickling in from overseas. So we'll have some of that here shortly. Canada named a captain. Not going to be surprised who that is. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. And we'll talk about some of the replacements in the Olympics. Unfortunately, there are some big name players that have had to withdraw due to injury. In the case of Canada, especially in the U.S., some of the all-world players that had to withdraw are being replaced by other all-world type of players. So we'll talk about the card markets and talk about some of the replacements who've now taking spots on the respective Olympic teams. We'll get to that coming up here in just a little bit. Some big Olympic news to get to, some big NHL news. We had a big trade a few days back. We've got some teams that are absolutely rolling here going into the Olympic break. Again, a lot to get to. The value vintage pick. We'll talk maybe about some prospects a little bit later on. As always, we've got our Hobby 3 Stars, and I'm going to do two different versions of the Hobby 3 Stars this week. We're going to have Hobby 3 Stars, 3 guys going over to the Olympics, and we're going to have Hobby 3 Stars, 3 guys not playing in the Olympics, but maybe because they're not playing in the Olympics, I wouldn't ignore their cards, but maybe it's a good time to jump on their cards. So we'll get to that coming up here shortly. We've got some release dates from Upper Deck coming up here in just a few moments, so some news items to get to there. Again, a busy show here on Nonsense on Ice. I've got also the hits from the Allure break that I was in, or a couple of the Allure breaks that I was in. Remember last week I mentioned I wanted to show you some of those hits last week, but they were caught up in shipping because of some of that harsh winter weather across the country. Well, they're here now, and we can get to those. And we started opening this hobby tin, Blackhawks Centennial collection last week. Our YouTube audience can see it right here. So really cool tin. We've got Chris Chelios, Jeremy Roenick right there on the front. Blackhawks Centennial collection. There's fun for everybody in there, not just Blackhawks fans. And we'll get to the rest of that later on in the show. We started opening it last week. We hit one of the autographs. There should be one more autograph in there and maybe a relic card too. So there might be 2 more hits left in that tin. And we'll get to the bottom of that as we get cruising along here on Nonsense on Ice. So again, a lot to get to here on this edition. I want to start it off too, though. I've just some observations in the hobby. I was out at a card show yesterday, my local card show here in South Florida, the Fort Lauderdale Card Show. First weekend, first Friday and Saturday of every month typically is when it runs. Friends with a number of the dealers there, and the promoter Daniel does a great job, but got out there yesterday. The foot traffic was outstanding, and the dealers that I talked to were saying that they did outstanding at the show. They had a great show, so it was a lot of fun at the show. Great crowd. It's a Friday night and then a Saturday afternoon. I was there for the Saturday afternoon, so yesterday at the time of our recording here. But great to see all the foot traffic. Great to see the buzz around everything, and great to see the amount of hockey stuff that people had. Obviously, down here in South Florida, Panthers stuff sells great. Panthers stuff generates great interest with the success the team's had these last few years. But there was a good assortment of hockey stuff on a lot of different tables throughout that show, whether it was, quantity or whether it was just a few big cards or what have you. It was great to see the hockey representation throughout the show. And it was great to catch up with a couple of folks who said they had heard the podcast. So that means more than you will ever know. And again, thanks to the couple of folks who came up and said hello and said that you'd listen to the podcast again. That was awesome to hear and really meant a lot. So it's the only show I've ever set up at, and have had a lot of fun when I've done that the last couple of summers, and looking forward to at some point setting up there again. If you haven't set up at a card show, it's a really cool way to experience the hobby, to really just kind of immerse yourself in it from a different angle, the other side of the table. But it's also cool to step onto that side of the table and just get a feel for what's generating the interest, what's generating the buzz, what are people looking for? And you get into some cool conversations with people, not only about cards, but about sports. And you meet a lot of different people in the process too. So like I said, it was a great day in that regard. Got out to my local card show and it seemed like everybody was just doing great at the card show. So it was a lot of fun to be part of. Also noticing too, I don't know how it is in your area, and it's a good time for me to mention, like, subscribe, comment, at Doug Plagans on the Twitter X platform, at Doug Plagans on Instagram. Always looking forward to hearing from you. Obviously, leave a review on one of the streaming platforms if you feel so inclined. But where you are, on the retail shelves, what are you noticing? Because tell you what I'm noticing when I go out to some of the local big box retailers, the hockey stuff's going quickly. The hockey stuff in a lot of areas seems to be going faster than some of the stuff from the other sports. So how are things on the retail shelves by you? Because that's what I'm noticing. Series 1 Upper Deck is just about dried up. I saw Allure on the shelves at a couple of the local stores here lately, the Allure Blasters, which I'm looking forward to checking out one of those at some point in time here. But starting to see more of that hit the market now. But Upper Deck Series 1, maybe because we're less than a month away now, or around a month away from turning the page to Series 2. Series 1's kind of dried up, but you walk into one of the big box stores and I'm just not seeing as much hockey as the other stuff. The hockey seems to be selling faster is what I'm getting at. As far as just gauging it off what I'm seeing at some of the retailers, the hockey seems to be moving off the shelves. So maybe it's like that where you are. Let me know if you're noticing something similar to that. Before we get too far into some of the NHL news as well, really exciting stuff. Partnership announced between SCN Media and Yahoo Sports. And if you want to hear more about that, check out the latest episode of Sports Cards Nonsense. Mike and Jesse talked a lot about it. It's really exciting for everybody here, and a great chance for me to plug all the other shows. If you're new to the Sports Cards Nonsense Media Network, there are a lot of great programs, a lot of great perspectives. Wherever you get your podcasts, you can find all of it, whether you want to listen to a long show, whether you want to just see the clips, go to YouTube, anything like that. There's tons of great content. So check out everything that everybody's got going on, a lot of different perspectives and a lot of great stuff. But really exciting there that there's going to be a partnership between SCN Media and Yahoo Sports, and we're really excited to see where that goes as time goes along. But you can learn more about it. Check out the latest edition of Sports Cards Nonsense. Again, Mike and Jesse talked a lot about that. So big news here around all things SCN Media, and folks, just getting into it now with the National Hockey League and everything leading up to the Olympic break. Things have been busy. For me personally, I can tell you this. I think I got it right. I did the count from January 6th until February 5th. February 5th was the Panthers' last game before the Olympic break. And again, for the new people out there who are joining us for the first time here on Nonsense on Ice, not only do we welcome you aboard, but I should mention too, my day job, I'm the radio broadcaster for the Florida Panthers. I've been doing play-by-play in professional hockey for 18 years, and this is my 11th season with the Panthers. I travel everywhere with the team. It's been an absolute dream come true. Always wanted to be an NHL play-by-play announcer, and I've now had the opportunity to be with this team for 11 years and see them win 2 Stanley Cups, go to 3 finals, and see so many great players come through. But it was a busy month of January, and we knew that going in. From January 6th to February 5th, if my count was accurate, the Panthers played games, I believe, in 13 different road cities, not to mention, obviously, playing home games. Also played a game at Lone Depot Park in Miami for the Winter Classic. So we were all over the place. I think it was actually 11 different road cities and then 2 other venues when I talk about the home building, Amerant Bank Arena and Sunrise, and then Lone Depot Park in Miami. So that month leading up to the Olympic break, it's another one of those stretches of time where you just have so much appreciation for the athletes in this sport and what they're able to do night to night, because it's a full contact sport. You're playing breaks down to about every other night. There were a number of back-to-backs in there as well. You got that much travel. Teams travel with, they're really taken care of well, no doubt about that when they travel, but that doesn't mean that it's not a grind when they're playing that many games in that short a period of time. So again, just gives you that much more appreciation for what kind of athletes these are in the National Hockey League. And again, it was a busy month. We knew it would be. It flew by because it was just go, go, go the whole time. But here we are, a little bit of a pause. The Olympic break, obviously, for a number of players, they're over in Milan, and it's going to be the thrill of a lifetime for the guys that are over there. And for a lot of guys, a chance to rest up, catch their breath, because it's going to be a sprint to the finish when everybody comes out of this Olympic break as well. Leading up to the Olympic break, there was a trade freeze. The Wednesday before the Olympic break, that Wednesday afternoon, forget what the time specifically was, but there was a trade freeze. I think it was 3 Eastern. And the big news that came down, as we get right into some of the big news from the week that was, Artemi Panarin traded to the Los Angeles Kings from the New York Rangers. What does it all mean? Well, folks, Artemi Panarin traded to the Los Angeles Kings, got the 2-year contract extension as well. A lot of the rumors were that it was going to be more, but 2 years beyond this one for Artemi Panarin in Los Angeles. So the Kings didn't have to give up a rostered player in the deal, by the way. The Rangers got prospect Liam Greentree and a conditional pick. Now, Greentree has some pretty high upside. He was a first-round pick for the LA Kings back in 2024. We'll get to more on him in a moment. But Artemi Panarin moves to the LA Kings in the deal. Over a point a game this season, 57 points, 52 games. We just talked about him on a recent edition of Nonsense on Ice, and I was actually pretty surprised how affordably you can get his rookie cards, his 15, 16 Upper Deck Young Guns specifically. But the Kings right now, 3 points behind third place in the Pacific, 3 points behind the second wild card, obviously addressing a need for some offense. They have the second fewest goals scored in the National Hockey League. Only the Flames have scored less. They have the 4th worst power play in the National Hockey League. So they're bringing in a guy that should be able to help them get an uptick in offense, should be able to help that power play, no doubt about it. Also helps them boost the lineup here. Anze Kopitar's final season gives them a chance to make a run at it. And I don't think they're going to be done, but it helps them make a run at it here in Kopitar's last year. Also, with the 2-year extension, if Kopitar moves on, like we believe this is the final year for Anze Kopitar, helps them, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it, keep things rolling. They're not going to take a major step back. They'll, like I said, I'm sure they'll continue to try and supplement this roster. I think they still need a center, but they didn't have to give up anybody from the roster. They add a guy who's an all-world offensive player, should be able to help a Kings team that does need to score some more goals if it wants to run down, whether it's Seattle, if it wants to catch Anaheim and get one of those playoff spots in the Western Conference. As far as Artemi Panarin's cards go, the 15-16 Upper Deck Young Gun BGS 9.5 sold at the time of our recording back on Thursday for $59.99. And you can pick up raws of that card $30, maybe even less, but give or take $30 for raw editions, raw copies of that 15-16 Young Gun. The day of the trade, a PSA 10 sold for $87.79 per card ladder, all the sales data per card ladder. If you believe in the Kings in the next couple of years, if you're an Artemi Panarin fan, you can pick up those rookie cards at a pretty friendly price right now. So again, if you believe in the Kings this year, if you believe in them the next couple of years, while he has that contract with the Kings, maybe an avenue to look down, because comparatively speaking, pretty affordable for a guy of that caliber who does still have some racetrack left and some prime years left in his NHL career. He is a point producer, no question about it. As far as the rest of the trade goes, Liam Greentree goes to the New York Rangers. Greentree, 49 goals for Windsor in the OHL last year. That's Major Junior. Over a point a game this year. He was the 26th overall pick in 2024. He's 20 years old, 6'3", 216, right winger. He's a big kid. Played on Team Canada at the World Juniors, and he's got some upper deck CHL cards going back to 22-23. He's got some autos, for example, from last year that are selling in the $40 to $60 range raw. So if you're a Rangers fan, for example, and you want to jump on some of the early Liam Greentree prospect cards that are out there, pretty affordable right now for a guy that has some good offensive upside. The Rangers also got a conditional pick in the 2026 draft and maybe another pick depending on how far the Kings go in their playoff run if they were to make it to the Stanley Cup playoffs. So obviously a big trade there. Anytime you have a guy at that level getting moved, it's a big trade. It's worth talking about. And hey, if you're a Kings fan, Panarin rookies, they seem to be pretty affordable. If you believe in the Kings these next couple of years, then again, you could probably do a lot worse for the money than picking up Artemi Panarin rookies. I've actually been a little bit surprised to see how affordable those are. The Tampa Bay Lightning, folks, just rolling into the break here. They lost 6-2. This might seem like ancient history now, but they lost 6-2 on November 16th. And they went to 9-7-2. It was a home loss to Vancouver back in November. 9-7-2 was their record after that game. Since then, they're 28-7-2. They've won 5 straight going into the break. 18-1-1 the last 20 games. So they are red hot. We'll talk about Andrei Vasilevsky. We'll talk about Nikita Kucherov. We'll talk about Jake Guentzel later on in the show. But they did have a future Hall of Famer return to their lineup just a few games back at the time of the Olympic break. Victor Hedman, he returns. He's been the anchor of that team defensively for, again, well over a decade at this point. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. As the second he's done playing and the wait time elapses, he is going to be a Hall of Famer. There's absolutely no question about it. And you can get his 0910 SP Authentic Future Watch autos under $125. Those are numbered to $9.99. Victor Hedman, Future Watch autos from 2009. Pretty surprised to see that, but you can pick those up, again, under $125. Again, like I said with Panarin, if you're going to spend that kind of money, there are far worse places you could probably put it than with a rookie auto of Victor Hedman. Columbus, speaking of teams on a roll, a little different place in the standings than Tampa Bay. The Lightning, their playoff positioning seems to be pretty safe right now. And hey, we can't talk about the Lightning right now either without mentioning another goalie fight. Andrei Vasilevsky, Jeremy Swayman, outdoors, Stadium Series, Raymond James Stadium back on Sunday. At the time we're recording this, it would have been 1 week ago. What a spectacle that was. What a hockey game that was. And Tampa Bay came from way behind in that game. Had the goalie fight, everything that went along with it, wound up getting the 2 points that night. So just kind of emblematic with of how Tampa Bay's season's gone so far, the way they're able to come back and win that game. But Andrei Vasilevsky and Jeremy Swayman dropping the gloves. We went about 5-6 years without a goalie fight in the National Hockey League, and then we wind up with 2 in the span of a couple of weeks. But enough on the Tampa Bay Lightning right now. We're going to have more on them coming up here in just a few moments. They'll get talked about plenty here. But Columbus has won 11 of 12 since January 10th. Rick Bowness has taken over as the head coach. He has gone 10-1-0 behind the bench since he stepped in. You can't talk about this Blue Jackets team without mentioning Zach Werenski. And he is going to be a key player with Team USA. Mentioned it last week. If Team USA is going to win a gold medal, Zach Werenski is undoubtedly going to be somewhere right in the middle of it. And he is having another all-world season from the blue line for the Blue Jackets. He's got 20 goals. Second among NHL defensemen, only to Jacob Chychrun. He's got one more, Chychrun does. But 62 points, second among NHL defensemen, only to Evan Bouchard. But Zach Werenski, and we're going to talk more about him here in a little bit, but the fact that you can pick up his Young Guns rookie cards from back in 16-17 for $12 to $15, comparatively speaking to a lot of his peers, you look at what, and I know he doesn't have a Stanley Cup ring like Cale Makar, maybe hasn't had the fanfare of Quinn Hughes, but the $12 to $15 that Werenski Young Guns sell for is a fraction of what those other guys' rookie cards sell for. Now, Werenski, he's well into his late 20s at this point, but he is going to be a key player for Team USA. He's putting up monster numbers once again. And if you believe in this Blue Jackets team getting into the playoffs, they're pushing for a spot right now. They're not there yet. But if you believe in Columbus this year or long term, Zach Werenski is a special player. And those rookie cards are pretty affordable. Just something to put on your radar. Again, I mentioned this on one of the first episodes of Nonsense on Ice, but I'm not always going to tell you what to buy, maybe just where to keep an eye, because those are pretty affordable right now, those Zach Werenski Young Guns. Adam Fantilli, still really like him. Hard to believe this guy is still only 20 years old. I know from a hobby perspective, it feels like he's been around for a long time now. Came in the same year as Bedard. He had 31 goals as a 20-year-old last year. Should say he's 21. 31 goals as a 20-year-old last year. And he's really starting to get things rolling offensively again. Kirill Marchenko is another guy who can put the puck in the net, guy to keep an eye on for Columbus. The Young Guns rookies of Fantilli from 23-24, 10 to $15. Marchenko, 22-23. He was an extended series, and you can pick up his rookie cards, $8 to $10. Couple of names to keep on your radar if you do believe in the Columbus Blue Jackets this year or down the road. I'm going to throw a lot of names at you this week, and I think part of that here on Nonsense on Ice, part of the reason we send a lot of names your way, first of all, I like to let everybody know out there, I know sometimes, especially in the card world, whether we are hockey diehards, whether it's people taking notice coming in from other segments of the hobby, the hype just gets going sometimes, and everybody gets focused on one or two names. Want to open your eyes to the fact that there are just a lot of different guys out there that maybe fly under the radar. There are a lot of quality players that maybe aren't getting the hype of some others right now, but doesn't mean you shouldn't maybe just be taking notice of what they're doing right now as far as the National Hockey League is concerned, as far as their performance is concerned. Shifting gears a little bit from the NHL to some of the Olympic stuff. And we're going to talk about the replacements for injured players that we've had named to different rosters here in just a little bit. But some items from the Olympics. Sidney Crosby, it was announced today at the time of our recording, he's going to be the captain of Team Canada. Mentioning that because I think in a future edition here, we're going to take a little bit deeper look at Crosby and his hobby market and his just career body of work. I've said it multiple times, but I think he is into the top 5 players in the history of the National Hockey League now. If he were to win another gold medal, where do we start to view him historically? Because to be continuing to accomplish what he is at this later stage of his career, looks like a guy who could play another 20 years. We just have to wait and see. But at this point, what he's been able to accomplish, what he's been able to add to his resume, it's getting into that, the Tom Brady territory. Brady, when he got to 40 and just kept rolling and kept winning championships, and we saw his hobby market just go to another stratosphere. Is that something that we could see in the future for Sidney Crosby as well? Worth taking a look at that here in a future edition. But he was named the captain of Team Canada today. I saw that get announced, and I thought to myself that felt like it was just assumed. I didn't know that we needed an announcement for that. It's going to be his second time being the captain. He was the captain in 2014 when Canada won gold, so he's going to be the captain of Team Canada again in 2026. Connor McDavid and Cale Makar will wear the A's on their jerseys. And fun stuff in the lead up to the Olympics, folks. And this is, I think, part of even aside from the games, I think part of what had us all most excited about the NHL players going to the Olympics was some of the just speculation as to who was going to play with who was going to be paired with who, what were the line combinations going to look like. And we've started to get a couple of those coming in. Elliot Friedman on the Twitter X platform earlier today, obviously one of the great hockey insiders out there, but he mentioned that Charlie McAvoy was paired with Quinn Hughes, and you had Jack Eichel centering the Tkachuks, and you had Austin Matthews centering Matt Boldy and Jake Guentzel. So some Team USA potential combos there. That's the stuff that's going to be really fun to monitor, not just for Team USA, but leading up to the tournament. Who's going to play with who? And what are some of these combinations going to look like as we get closer to the puck dropping and the tournament really getting going? But the Tkachuks with Jack Eichel, that's a fun line right there. So something we'll just have to keep an eye on. And that Team USA defense group is just loaded. McAvoy with Quinn Hughes, what a pairing that is. And Zach Werenski, we'll find out where he's going to be paired. But some fun stuff to keep an eye on roster-wise as we get closer to the game. Folks, Upper Deck Allure, it's out. It's in full force. The hobby boxes are available at a hobby shop near you. I think 120, 130 bucks is what you're looking at. Places like David Adams, Steel City, places like that. But really fun product. Every box has either an autograph or a doubloon from the breaks that I've watched, usually in a half case, which is 9 boxes, the inner case, if you will. 9 boxes, 8 of them will have an autograph, 1 of them will have a doubloon. So you're getting 1 doubloon per half case. I didn't hit one of those. Got some pretty cool autographs, though. Like I said, I don't usually get this kind of luck, but out of Allure, here's the Gabe Perreault blue line autograph to 35. That was my best hit. Had the Rangers, got a really good deal on the Rangers in a break. I think they were a really good value team. And when I say a value team, I like to look for teams that have good quantity, maybe an under-the-radar, sneaky good rookie. And this isn't that sneaky. He was a first-round pick a couple of years back. And if the Rangers are starting to sell off pieces like Artemi Panarin, for example, and we'll see who else goes out the door as the Rangers are into another retool, rebuild, whatever you want to call it. As time goes on, players like this might get a little bit more opportunity. Hit the flashy forwards, Alexis Lafreniere autograph. He's got a cool autograph. Nice signature, very unique from Lafreniere on that one. And also Matthew Robertson. These all came from one break. Like I said, I don't usually get this kind of luck. Mojo Break, shout out to them. I know a lot of folks on the SCN team, and our producer Rebecca was out there as well, checking out the new store that they have. Really happy for them. Congratulations to everybody at Mojo Break. But again, these came from a break that I was in with them. And the other thing with Allure is you have a chance to cast a pretty wide net. Here's a couple other Gabe Perreault's, the color flows. Those are cool. Gabe Perreault Black Rainbow. So wait and see. Speculation's always fun. And then had the Blues in a break as well. So good number of some Jimmy Snuggeroods, one of the rookies to look for. A couple cool Dalibor Dvorskys here. He'll be playing in the Olympics for Team Slovakia. But just some hits there from Allure. Really fun product. Nice looking cards. Great stock. Made really well. A lot of diversity in the product. A lot of different things you can chase. If you like parallels, if you like color, there's a lot in there for you. Plus, you've got the autographs. And it's one of those products that I think could attract folks from other sports because it's got a lot of that shine in it. So, and again, the cost of entry, pretty manageable at about $120, $130 for a hobby box. Speaking of that, some upcoming releases from Upper Deck before we get too far along here. At the time that this episode's going to drop, SP Game Used is a day away. Hit-based product, cool stuff in there, a lot of relics, a lot of autographs. The big rookies all have autographs in there. So Schaefer, Demidov, all the big guys, they're in there. Really fun product. And I believe it's a 9-card, 1-pack, 9 cards per hobby box. An assortment of autographs, multiple autographs, I believe, in each one. So cool product there, SP Game Use. It's been a staple for over a couple of decades now. That is coming up about a day away, I believe, at the time that we drop this episode. So be on the lookout for that. February 18th, couple of releases on the hockey side. 25-26 Fleer Ultra. And that's a cool product. Great photography in that one. A lot of different variants. Keep an eye out for that. There are the 50 short printed rookies, I believe. I think you get one in each pack, hobby only release. So check that out. Fleer Ultra. A lot of nostalgia there if you collected, when I was in my formative collecting years with Fleer Ultra. It's just great to hear the phrase or the term or the name Fleer Ultra. Upper Deck Golf, February 18th as well. I know this is a hockey podcast, but of course, Nonsense on Ice presented by Upper Deck. And I know that the folks, the hockey crowd, the golf crowd, there's a lot of crossover there. So Upper Deck Golf comes out on February 18th. You've got the Star Rookies box set on March 4th. Those are always cool because you're guaranteed to get one card of every rookie. It's the Star Rookies box set. And some of the PSA 10s of those from the last few years. The Bedard PSA 10s are in the $60, $70 range from a few years back. You're going to get one of those in every box. Not guaranteed to be a 10, obviously, but again, the Star Rookies box set you get, and there are variants in there. There are some things to look for. We'll wait and see as we get closer to the product's release, but those will come out on March 4th. And also March 4th, the Upper Deck Series 2 release. So Series 2 Upper Deck, a whole new crop of young guns, lots of fun to be had, obviously. I've been meaning to pre-order a hobby box for myself here at some point in time. So really excited for that, and a deep crop of young guns that we've spent some time talking about here on recent editions of the show. We'll touch on a couple more of the guys, I think, before we're done here. But Matthew Schaefer, Zeev Buium, Isaac Howard, Easton Cowan, Michael Misa, Sam Dickinson, just going down the list. It's a big, deep crop of young guns in Series 2, and it goes beyond Matthew Schaefer. I know so much of the chase is going to be on Matthew Schaefer, but maybe that's an opportunity for you, especially if you're getting into the breaks, to grab the under-the-radar teams, if you will. I think the Flames could be an under-the-radar team in that product. Minnesota and Detroit are going to be pretty deep in that product, but there are going to be a lot of different lanes to look down beyond just the New York Islanders. And while everybody's chasing the Islanders, maybe you can get a deal if you're into getting into some of the breaks when Series 2 comes out. There might be some good options for you beyond just the New York Islanders, because I know a lot of folks are going to be chasing the Islanders. Let's get to our back-to-back Hobby 3-stars. We have Hobby 3-stars, 3 guys going to the Olympics. We've got Hobby 3-stars, 3 guys not going to the Olympics. Hobby 3-stars, Olympic-bound goaltender from Czechia, from the Utah Mammoth, Karel Vejmelka, has 27 wins this season. That's tied for the most in the National Hockey League with Tampa Bay's Andrei Vasilevsky. 11-4-0, 2.33 goals against, .915 save percentage since the turn of the new year. His 21-22 Upper Deck Young Guns number 458 rookie card raw, about $3. A bargain. Karel Vejmelka. If Utah makes the playoffs and they look like a team that has that in them, Karel Vejmelka is the backbone of this team. And his Future Watch autographs as well from 21-22, under $20. Karel Vejmelka, he is a franchise goaltender in the National Hockey League. He is Olympic bound, and he is the cornerstone, one of the cornerstones of this Utah Mammoth team. And he's got some cards that you can get for a bargain out there right now. So he leads off our Hobby 3-stars. Jake Guentzel, he'll be playing for Team USA. He's ripping it up right now for the Tampa Bay Lightning. 21 points in 16 games since the turn of the new year. His Upper Deck Young Guns rookie card number 525 from the 16-17 set. You can pick that up raw around $20. The last PSA 10, $61. Yes, less than a week ago. So Jake Guentzel, he's been such a consistent producer over time, whether it was in Pittsburgh, whether it was that brief time in Carolina, or now with the Tampa Bay Lightning, where he is playing for a contender once again. He's got a Stanley Cup ring. He's playing for Team USA. Maybe he has a big Olympic moment. We'll just have to wait and see. But Jake Guentzel on our Hobby 3-stars this week. And shifting gears from Team USA to Team Canada, Mark Stone of the Vegas Golden Knights has been on fire. 29 points in his last 19, 44 points in his last 32 games leading up to the break. One of the top two-way forwards in the National Hockey League. $20 to $30. That's what it'll cost you for a raw copy of his 12-13 Upper Deck Young Guns rookie card number 239. In January, a PSA 10 went for about $90 per card ladder. Two of his 12-13 The Cup RPAs out of 249 sold in January between $69 and $76. $69, $76 for a rookie patch auto out of 249 from the Cup, the top-end product. Mark Stone, who is going to have certainly a Hall of Fame case when things are said and done. He's got a Cup. He's playing for Team Canada, has been such a consistent producer over the course of his career. That seemed like a pretty good buy as well. So 3 names to note on your Olympic-bound Hobby 3 stars this week: Karel, Vejmelka, Jake Guentzel, and Mark Stone. Now, I'll tell you this. Just because a player's not going to the Olympics doesn't mean that I would avoid their cards over the course of the next month. In fact, it might be a good chance to look down some of those lanes, to explore the markets of players who aren't under the microscope over at the Olympics, or I should say in the spotlight over at the Olympics. A few names to send your way. One guy that hobbyists have loved since he burst onto the scene: Lane Hutson, defenseman from Montreal, 58 points in 57 games this season, 126 points in 141 games in his career. He turns 22 next week, and I would go ahead and guess the next time the NHL players go to the Olympics, maybe 4 years from now, Lane Hutson should be on that team at Team USA. Just so loaded right now. And I mentioned when we talked about him a few weeks back with Lane Hutson, if you have a Team USA defense group that already has Quinn Hughes, that already has Zach Werenski, those are your power play quarterbacks. And if you don't use one of them for whatever reason, you have a whole group of guys who probably handle top unit power play minutes for their NHL teams. Maybe there wasn't a huge opportunity to use Lane Hutson because you already had such a stacked group of defensemen, or to use him where he could be most successful. He's an all-world defenseman. He can bring you out of your seat. He's one of the most fun players to watch in the National Hockey League. He's on a team that's on the upswing, that's ahead of schedule, and is probably going to be, if they play their cards right, should be a contender for a number of years to come. Lane Hutson, Young Guns rookie cards from last year, 24-25. The raws of those, $80 to $100. So the hype on Lane Hutson, it's still high. It's still a player with big interest. PSA 10 sales, going back to Friday at the time of our recording here, $551 and $628. If you want a cheaper option, though, and I like to give people these options here, if you're just dipping your toe in the hockey hobby and there are players you like a Lane Hutson, you want to get his cards, but the price of some of those Young Guns a little bit steep. His Metal Universe rookie cards, number 101, the base rookie cards, around $3 to grab yourself one of those from 24-25 Metal Universe. 18 points in December, 18 points in January, 2 points in 2 games in February leading up to the break. As consistent an offensive producer as you'll find from the back end of the National Hockey League, Lane Hutson's been really good. And I certainly would continue to be looking at cards for Lane Hutson, no doubt about it. Alex DeBrincat, already 30 goals this season. Next up on our non-Olympic bound Hobby 3 stars, already 30 goals, playoffs likely for him. 17-18 Young Guns rookie cards, $10 to $20, and a PSA 10 earlier this month for $60. Plays for the Detroit Red Wings. Again, he's been scoring at a really good rate for a Red Wings team that has put itself back into the playoff mix this season. And number 3, and in no particular order here, of course, but third up on our Hobby 3 stars not going to the Olympics, Brandon Bussi, the goaltender from the Carolina Hurricanes. He's become the go-to guy there. And we talked about him at length maybe a month ago or so right here on Nonsense on Ice. And he just keeps rolling along. He looks the part. I've seen him in person. He looks like a National Hockey League goalie. The way, and I am by no means a goaltending expert, but you can tell when a guy looks the part. And that's not just because he's a big dude between the pipes. He moves well. He doesn't waste movement. Seems efficient in the way that he moves himself around. So again, Brandon Bussi, this has been a heck of a story. And his Young Guns rookie cards from Series 2 last year, $4.93, $10 to $15 is what you can look at for one of those, it seems like. Some under $10, but it seems like the hype has caught on a little bit. People have caught on to Brandon Bussi, and Carolina's a contender. And if he winds up being the go-to guy and they make a deep playoff run, if they finally get over the hump and get to a cup final, and he's the goaltender who is responsible for it, there's maybe still some good upside for that Brandon Bussi card. The only thing getting in his way, he is 27 years old, but you can't fault the guy for that. He was a non-drafted free agent and has really battled for every opportunity and didn't get a chance to play regular minutes in the NHL until this year. And he has taken the ball and run with it, no doubt about that. Carolina's leading the Metro, likely to win the division. And at the time of the Olympic break, 23, 3-1, 2.16 goals against and a .906 save percentage, which is definitely above league average for Brandon Bussi. Those are your hobby 3 stars, not going to the Olympics, but that wouldn't stop me from pursuing their cards. Folks, I want to get to the award frontrunners. I know in the case of, I think, everybody in the National Hockey League, we're between 55 and 58 games into the schedule. So a good enough sample size here to go through the award frontrunners and maybe talk about where some of the buys are as far as the card markets of these players. For the Hart Trophy, I don't think I'm breaking any ground here, but Nathan MacKinnon, Nikita Kucherov, Macklin Celebrini, Connor McDavid, those seem to be the 4. If the Sharks make the playoffs, because, folks, the definition of the Hart Trophy is the player adjudged to be the most valuable to his team. If the Sharks make the playoffs, Macklin Celebrini has a legitimate case here, because at the time the Olympic break hit, the Sharks have scored 169 goals, 20th most in the league. And Macklin Celebrini has 81 points. So he's been in on 81 of the 169 goals. That's almost 48%. That is a historically high number, a high percentage. So he's been right in the middle of everything. If they were to get into the playoffs, probably ahead of schedule, even the most diehard Sharks fans would probably say it would be ahead of schedule if they were to make the playoffs. He has to seriously be considered for the Hart Trophy. Now, if the Sharks miss the playoffs, it's probably Nathan MacKinnon's year. Kucherov and McDavid are having outstanding seasons, and you can set your watch to that every year. They put up points in their sleep, it feels like. But Nathan MacKinnon at the break, 40 goals in 55 games, plus 48. I know plus minus isn't maybe looked at in the same way that it used to be, but that is so dramatically just such a high number, just such a high number in the plus column for him. The last 2 PSA 10 rookies for Nate MacKinnon, 1,100 and 1,151, the sales on those per card ladder. So people are taking note. That card has gone up since we started doing Nonsense on Ice back in November. That card has gone up. All these players have seen upticks in their card prices. Nikita Kucherov, for example, his 13-14 Young Guns PSA 10s, the last 3 sales were $600 to $650, and you could routinely find those in the 400s back before the season started. So those cards are up, and it's interesting to see, folks. It's almost refreshing in a way. We all follow this every single day. We follow the different card market trends, but so often we see the big price spikes prior to seasons, and a lot of it has to do with hype more than results. But almost refreshing to see that, Nikita Kucherov rookie cards are up noticeably from the start of the season, and a lot of it is performance-based. Again, you could pick those PSA 10s up in the 400s back in October, so right around when the season was starting. Now you're looking at the low 600s for the same card. It's refreshing to see that kind of reaction from the market, that it's been dictated by performance on the ice rather than pure speculation. So I think those are the 4 guys. I'm not breaking any ground there as far as who the front runners for the Hart Trophy are, but I think Macklin Celebrini presents the most interesting case here and what that could do to the hobby overall if he were to win the Hart Trophy, because like I said, assuming he keeps producing at the rate that he is, if that team gets in the playoffs, and I don't care what position it is, I don't care if it's 3rd in the Pacific, I don't care if it's the 2nd wild card spot, if they do find their way in, he has to be seriously considered. No question about that. Vezina Trophy. Right now, it's you've got three really qualified contenders here: Andrei Vasilevsky, Ilya Sorokin, and Logan Thompson. What's interesting here with Logan Thompson, and he's going to be playing for Team Canada, and we'll see if he ends up getting the lion's share of the starts in net. We'll see what direction they decide to go when this tournament begins, because Jordan Binnington obviously has the track record, winning a cup, winning a Game 7, what he did at the Four Nations last year, but he hasn't had a great season this year. Darcy Kemper has won a Stanley Cup as well. Logan Thompson, though, has been the best of those three goalies in the National Hockey League the last couple of years. And he seems to be next after Vasilevsky or Sorokin in really every trackable metric, whether it's stats, whether it's analytic numbers, anything like that. Logan Thompson, the reason I started with him is you can pick up his raw Young Guns rookie cards from 21-22. He was a Series 1 Young Gun. You can pick up his rookie cards for $2 to $3. Logan Thompson. So if you believe in the Washington Capitals, if you believe in Team Canada, if you believe in Logan Thompson in the years to come, and he's going to be a staple in Washington for a while, he got that contract extension, $2 to $3 for Logan Thompson rookies seems like a pretty low risk investment there for you. And again, a guy that has been one of the best goalies in the league in the regular season the last couple of years, and a big reason Washington has taken the steps they have. And as they start to get healthier here, Pierre-Luc Dubois back, they're going to try and make a run again. And if they do make some kind of run here late in the year, I'd imagine Logan Thompson is going to be right in the middle of all of it. Andrei Vasilevsky right now, 27-7-3, .919 save percentage, 2.11 goals against average, and that would be a career best if you can believe it. But Andrei Vasilevsky, 14-15 Young Guns rookie cards, PSA 10s, $195 to $432, three recent sales. They're all over the place. Russia not going to the Olympics, so he's going to be just kicking back and relaxing and recovering here for the next couple of weeks, and that's something that could play into Tampa Bay's hands down the stretch. Kucherov, too. Two guys they lean on heavily, and they're not going to be playing in the Olympics. They're going to be relaxing and recovering. And those are two guys that have played a ton of hockey in their careers. They both have been a part of multiple Stanley Cup champions. They have a lot of miles on them, but they're going to get a chance to rest up here at a critical time of the year. We'll see how that works for them. And Ilya Sorokin, also in that Vezina conversation. The fact that you can pick up the raw Sorokin rookies around $10 from 2021. That seems like a bargain too. And PSA 10's around $100. We featured him on Hobby 3 Stars maybe a month or so ago. He's having a monster season if you believe in the New York Islanders, and they look like they're a team that can make the playoffs. He's one of those goaltenders capable of getting hot enough to carry a team. So all three very tempting as far as the cards are concerned. Andrei Vasilevsky is who I would probably favor to win the Vezina at this point in time, but that could change the last 6 weeks or so of the regular season. But right now, I think Andrei Vasilevsky's just had a dominant season, and maybe there's some recency there because I saw him play in person back on would have been the time of our recording here Thursday, last game before the Olympic break, and he was vintage Vasilevsky in that game. He was outstanding, and maybe it was one of the items from that Panthers Lightning game that maybe didn't get talked about much, but the Panthers threw everything at him, especially early in the game. And Andrei Vasilevsky, as calm as could be, was just outstanding. Like I said, turned in a vintage performance. Calder Trophy, so Brandon Bussi not eligible because of his age, so we won't mention him, but should throw that out there. Matthew Schaefer, Ivan Demidov, Beckett Seneca, your three Calder Trophy favorites, I believe, at this point in time. Just because I'm not mentioning a rookie as one of the Calder favorites doesn't mean I would avoid Jimmy Snuggerud, Dalibor Dvorsky, Jesper Wallstedt, Sam Dickinson, Oliver Kapanen. We are fortunate to have a lot of really good rookies in the National Hockey League this year, but those are the three that I would say are your Calder frontrunners. And Demidov and Seneca have been great. Demidov, the driver of Series 1 Upper Deck flagship. Seneca, you'd expect, going to be the driver of the extended series when his young gun comes out. But Matthew Schaefer, who's going to be in Series 2, it's hard to look any further than him as far as the Calder Trophy goes. Right now, the 16 goals, the 39 points, the fact that he's not 19 until September, he's going to be 18 all year, those are important in the equation. But maybe the most impressive to me, beyond that, the fact that for the Islanders this season, the 18-year-old defenseman, and that's a tough position to grasp breaking into the NHL, he's playing over 24 minutes a night and he hasn't missed a game. That is incredibly difficult. And Patrick Waugh, the head coach there, he's mentioned it time and time again that he has no problem giving him those minutes because he's that good. He has been that important to that team and that fan base. And we've talked about it a lot. You hear him do interviews and things like that, and you read some of the things that he's overcome at this point in his career. He's one of those guys that hockey fans are going to want to pull for. He's incredibly likable, and he is an all-world talent. And that's why I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say that his young gun, when it comes out in Series 2, that could wind up being one of the most important hockey cards of the decade of the 20s. I don't think that's a stretch. I think he is that good of a player. I think he is potentially that important to not only the Islanders, but the National Hockey League. And like I said, on top of that, he's, I think, that likable and could be that popular. So again, just that's going to be an important card when it comes out. Matthew Schaefer, to me, is the favorite for the Calder Trophy. As far as the Norris goes, Cale Makar, Zach Werenski, Quinn Hughes, I feel like you can set your watch to those three being in the Norris conversation every year, but that's who we're tabbing as the three finalists here on Nonsense on Ice. But I think this is Zach Werenski's year. Talked about it earlier. He's having another huge season. If he scores 30 goals, especially, I think I've heard some folks talk about this, but it's been highlighted. He's got 20 goals right now. It would take a heck of a finish. That would probably clinch it for him. But I do think this is his year to win the Norris Trophy as the NHL's best defenseman. He's right now producing well over a point a game, 62 points in 52 games. He'll be 29 in July. And you can pick up his 16-17 Young Guns rookies, $10 to $15 right now. So great buy, if you ask me. I think this is Zach Werenski's year to win the Norris. I could be wrong. Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes, if they win it, absolutely deserving. As far as some of the stat-based awards, looking at some of the stat-based awards here, and when I mentioned that, the Art Ross Trophy goes to the league's leading point getter. Connor McDavid, right now leading the league at the break with 96 points. McKinnon, 3 back of him. And then you've got Kucherov with 91 points. Celebrini with 81 points. Leon Draisaitl with 80 points. Connor McDavid looks like he's probably going to be on his way to another one. Wouldn't surprise you. The Rocket Richard Trophy feels like Nathan McKinnon's going to get this one. He's got 40 at the break, 6 ahead of McDavid. So those are the stat-based major awards. We're going to talk about Rocket Richard again here in just a few moments. But those are the stat-based awards, and I feel pretty good about the guys that are in first in both categories right now. McDavid in the points department for the Art Ross and McKinnon in the goals department for the Rocket Richard. Before we get any further here, we still have the Olympic replacements. We still have a value vintage pick, and we're going to rip some Centennial edition here shortly. Macklin Celebrini, we've talked about him a lot. He's driven so much of the hobby. We should check in. I know we skipped last week on the Celebrini check-in. We just had a lot of other things going on. But that Upper Deck Young Guns number 451 from last year, still selling in the same ballpark. The raw sales, $320 to $360 as far as the recent sales go. The last 3 PSA 10s, $1625 to $1828. The last 3 PSA 9s that I saw, $435 to $445. I guess my question to you, the listeners, and you, the viewers out there, would be, in the case of a card like this, I know we're talking about a card from last year, do you mind a PSA 9? I personally don't mind PSA 9s or mint 9s if we're talking about the other grading companies. If we're talking about SGC, I don't mind a 9.5. I think that's still a very nice card. There are some people out there that don't like anything but a PSA 10 and just assume if it's not going to be a 10, leave the card raw. In the case of that Celebrini, would you mind having a PSA 9? I know I wouldn't. Again, if you want to engage on that or anything else, at Doug Plagans on Twitter X, at Doug Plagans on Instagram, comment, like, subscribe, all those things. Tell a friend. But as far as Macklin Celebrini goes, that Young Guns card is still just selling like crazy, no doubt about it. And this might sound crazy. I think the only thing that would potentially steer me away from one of those Young Guns purchases right now, and it has nothing to do with the card itself, has nothing to do with Macklin Celebrini. Maybe why I would say let the market run its course here a little bit. There are probably still a lot of those sitting at PSA there's still a lot of that product getting ripped. I know Mojo Break just ran breaks of it a couple of weeks ago, or in the last couple of weeks, I should say. It wasn't much, but they did. There's still a lot of that being ripped. There's still a lot of it being sent off. I'm sure there are folks who have raw Celebrinis sitting in a box right now just saying, hey, when I get around to it, I'm going to send these off to PSA. So undoubtedly, the population of that card on the market is probably going to increase a little bit. That's the one reason I'd say if you're seriously looking at buying that card, maybe sometime after the season is the time to do it. But hey, that could be totally wrong too, because if something happens and he wins the Hart Trophy, then maybe that thing goes up again, and then you're going to be yelling at me that I gave you bad advice. I don't want to be that guy, because if you like Macklin Celebrini, like I said, I don't think there's a bad Macklin Celebrini card out there. And if you're holding for the long term, because I think at the current prices, you're looking at a hold for the long term kind of buy. I think that I don't think you can go wrong with his stuff. I think he's that special of a player. The way we talked about Matthew Schaefer, the ability that Matthew Schaefer has and what he could mean to the National Hockey League moving forward. Got to feel that way about Macklin Celebrini too. To me, Macklin Celebrini is as close to Sidney Crosby's skill set and the way that Crosby goes about his business of anybody who's come into the league since Sidney Crosby. Looking at some of the Olympic replacements, just a couple of items to get to before we rip some packs and get out of here. Olympic replacements. In the case of Team Canada, replacing all-world players with all-world players. Braden Point, injured, not going to Milan, replaced by Seth Jarvis, the Carolina Hurricanes. Anthony Cirelli, injured, not going to Team Canada. Sam Bennett replaced him. So these are two guys who were on the Four Nations team that won gold. Two guys that have already accomplished a lot. In the case of Jarvis, big-time scorer, Carolina's a contender, and maybe an opportunity for his stuff to go up down the road because, again, he's a guy that's really likable, has a great personality off the ice, but a guy who's just getting going in his career, was a 2020 draft pick and already a perennial 30-goal scorer. Seth Jarvis will be going to Team Canada. Sam Bennett as well. And you look at Sam Bennett's resume, it's an interesting one because he's carried that playoff Sam moniker going back to his time with the Flames. Now you fast forward to 2026. He's going to play for Team Canada. He was a huge part of them winning gold at the Four Nations last year, scored in the gold medal game. He's got a Conn Smythe trophy. He's got 2 Stanley Cup rings. Playoff Sam has turned into one of the true big game performers in the National Hockey League, and you go from about November on this year, and he's a point-a-game guy. A couple of guys whose hobby markets you could probably get some good deals on, and again, they could have some Olympic moments as well, so keep an eye on that. Team USA, Seth Jones not going due to injury. Jackson Lacombe replaced him. This was a couple of weeks back that news came out. But Jackson Lacombe has the long extension in Anaheim. He's going to be a big part of what they're building into the future. He was a rookie in the 23-24 products, and you can get his young guns pretty cheap, around $5 for Jackson Lacombe's young guns cards. So that's a direction to look if you're a believer in the Anaheim Ducks long term. Jarvis and Bennett, mentioning the values on those cards. Jarvis young guns around $10 from back in 21-22. And the Future Watch autos around $80, those numbered to $9.99. And Sam Bennett, his young guns from 15-16 around $8 raw, and the Future Watch autographs to $9.99, $75 to $85 is what I saw the recent sales per card ladder. So Sam Bennett, Seth Jarvis, Jackson Lacombe, 3 guys named to Team Canada and Team USA who weren't on the initial announcements, but again, could have some Olympic moments. We'll just have to wait and see, but also we're just really good NHL players. Value vintage pick, and then we'll rip some packs. Mention the Rocket Richard Trophy. Well, let's look no further than Maurice Richard. Now, his stuff, because of the era he played, he was a rookie in 51-52 Parkhurst. His last card from his playing days, 60-61 Parkhurst. So that's what we're going to look at here. The 60-61 Parkhurst, his last playing days card. He actually retired after Montreal's Cup win in 1960, but he doesn't have any cheap cards, put it that way. Everything he has is from the 50s or from 60-61. So no cheap Maurice Richard cards, but that rookie card, it's going to come at a pretty high price tag, and anything even if you buy a PSA 1, it's going to come at a pretty high price tag. So looking at his last playing days card, that 60-61 Parkers, PSA 3s likely in the 200s, PSA 5s likely in the 400s based on recent sales, and they don't exactly transact every single day, but a really nice card of the first player to score 50 in a season. He was the first player to score 500 goals. He was the NHL's all-time leading goal scorer until Gordie Howe came along and broke that. 8 Stanley Cups. And how about this? I thought this was interesting, doing the research yesterday. He was actually named a historic figure by the province of Quebec. So has, again, a different level of fame. He's been named a historic figure by the province of Quebec. The other interesting thing about his hobby presence, I guess you could say, because he passed away in 2000, he doesn't have a ton of pack-pulled or pack-circulated autographs. One really nice one that he has, and he has a beautiful signature. A lot of the Hall of Famers from that era do, but Maurice Richard had a beautiful autograph. And his 1999-2000 Upper Deck Retro, the Incredible Auto, is a really sharp-looking card. It's not cheap. Probably set you back $300 to $400, but he just doesn't have a lot of licensed pack circulated autographs. So that would be one of the ones to look for. And it's a beautiful card. It really is. And you put that beautiful signature on it. It is an instant classic type of card of one of the game's all-time greats. We're hitting the 1 hour mark here, so let's get to the end of the Blackhawks Centennial, Tim. We should have at least one hit left in here. We pulled the Eric Weinrich autograph last week. The autograph checklist is so deep in this product. So we're going to rip into a few packs, and hopefully we get our hit. Get something to show you here. But great product, not just for a Blackhawks fan. Blackhawks have a 100-year history, have had a lot of great players come through. So again, we got something that looks different here. So they've had, again, a lot of great players come through, and there's a lot of cool cards in here. Tony Amonte, Philip Kurashev, Cristobal Huey. We've got some kind of hit here. We're going to go to the base cards. Capturing a champion, that is Chris Versteeg. We got a Jonathan Taves, captain of the Stanley Cup winners. Jeff Shantz, there's a 90s name. All right, we've got a retired numbers card. See this black and white design? Retired numbers, Keith Magnuson. That's a cool one. Number 3. Hanging in the rafters there. And the award winners, Stan Mikita. Saw the outside of that retired numbers card, and I thought maybe it was something different. Bobby Hull, memorable moments. So again, you get the current players, you get the vintage names. Lots to look for in the Blackhawks Centennial collection. Corey Crawford, Jocelyn Thibault, Hall of Famers, Michel Goulet. Award winners, Patrick Kane. We have the yellow award winners, that's parallel, Jonathan Taves. We have the memorable moments, Patrick Kane. Stu Grimson, Patrick Sharp, and Keith Carney. Lots of different eras of Blackhawks hockey represented here. I want to show you a couple of the hits. All right, we got Lucas Reichel on the back of the pack, getting some of the current players as well. Alex Zhamnov, Andrew Shaw, Tony Esposito, Hall of Famers, Tony Esposito, record holders, Tony Esposito. Oh, this might be an autograph. This might be an autograph. Okay, this might be the autograph, so we'll get to that at the end. Memorable moments, Patrick Sharp, Doug Wilson, Lucas Reichel. Oh, there's our autograph, and he plays for them now. Ilya Mikheyev of the Blackhawks, current Blackhawk. Got the number 95 right there. So you get the current players, the former players, and Centennial Choice autographs, Ilya Mikheyev on card. Nice blue ink right there across the white part of the card. Very visible signature. And a nice one there. Ilya Mikheyev is the next autograph. So we've hit the 2 autographs. There might be a relic in here as well, somewhere. Steve Larmer, Kurt Frazier, Ed Belfour, Tony Amonte. Adrian Aucoin, yellow. Brent Seabrook, Teuvo Teravainen, Keith Magnuson, Eric Daze. Let's see here. We're just going to blast through the rest of these because I want to see if we can show you one more hit. Scott Darling, Brandon Saad. I mentioned Scott Darling a couple of weeks ago. He saw him fight one time. Goalie fight. Scott Darling there. We'll show you a couple of the other subset cards. There's a lot of different variety here. Bernie Nichols, often the guy on the who has scored 70 goals in the National Hockey League list that gets forgotten. Glenn Hall, retired numbers. Talked about him a few weeks ago. Patrick Kane, Nick Hjalmarsson. That's our yellow Hjalmars. Key part of those Blackhawks Cup teams from about a decade ago. One of the real unsung heroes from those groups, Nicholas Hjalmarsson. Really good defenseman. Denny Savard, record holders. Spinorama there. Chris Chelios, another Glenn Hall. Brian Campbell. He played for the Panthers, my first season with the Panthers. All right, what do you think? We got 2, maybe 3 left. While we have you, let's just blast through them. Oh, there's Connor Bedard right on the front. Connor Bedard, base card. Jeff Hackett, Al Secord, Tony Esposito, Stan Mikita, Phil Esposito, Patrick Lalime, and there's another Phil Esposito. A lot of people forget about the Blackhawks era of Phil Esposito. All right, 2 left. See if we can hit one of those relics. Nick Foligno on the back of the pack. Had a chance to meet him. All the things you hear about Nick Foligno, just being a stand-up guy and just a nice person, he is absolutely that. A total professional in every sense of the word. Bobby Hull, yellow. Oh, look at this one. My friend, Mr. Darren Pang. Look at that. Darren Pang, that's awesome. Darren Pang card. And Bobby Hull. All right. Last pack in the box. We have something thick. We have something thick here. So maybe we do have a relic. Yeah, we'll get to that at the end. We have some kind of thick card. First rounders, Lucas Reichel, Glenn Hall, Patrick Kane, Phil Housley, Bobby Hull, Stan Mikita. Oh, we've got the Madhouse Materials, Taylor Radish Madhouse Materials. So that is having been used, officially used in an NHL game, says it right on the back. Memorabilia certified to the Upper Deck Company as having been used in an official NHL game. So Madhouse Materials, obviously the arena affectionately known as the Madhouse on Madison. So we have the auto, the relic right here, Ilya Mikheyev autograph to go with the Eric Weinrich from last week. Trying to get that out of the glare for you for our YouTube audience. And the Madhouse Materials, Taylor Radish. Folks, that's going to be it for this edition of Nonsense on Ice. Threw a lot of names at you. If you ever have any suggestions, we're going to get to a mailbag too over the Olympic break because we're going to obviously not have NHL games happening. So would like to get to a mailbag here in the coming weeks. Fire off a question. You have anything like that, like, subscribe, comment, tell a friend. And again, wherever you find your podcasts, it's where you can direct said friend to check out the show. But we thank you very much for being here with us today. You can always chime in at Doug Plagans on the Twitter X platform, at Doug Plagans on Instagram. And we look forward to hearing from you there. Leave a comment, leave a review, all those things. Big thanks to all of you for checking out the show, whether it's your first time or you've been with us since we started back in November. We thank you very much for being on board. It's Nonsense on Ice, presented by our friends at Upper Deck. Big thanks not only to all of you tuned in, but to our producer, Rebecca, on the other side. We thank you very much, as always, for a job well done. And again, thanks to all of you, the viewers, the listeners. We will have more for you next week. I'm Doug Plagans. This has been Nonsense on Ice, presented by Upper Deck, and we will talk to you next time.